Hey, what's up, everybody? You're listening to the Enterprise Architecture Radio. If you're thinking about organizational complexity and agility, if you're concerned about operational efficiencies and thinking of taking it to the next level, if managing innovation is one of your priorities, you've come to the right place. On this podcast, we talk about all of that and more. It's a jungle out there, and we'll attempt to navigate this jungle of frameworks, methods, and most importantly, enterprise architecture in practice. I want to start today's episode by sharing with everyone that I have recently given the TOGAF Enterprise Architecture Practitioner certification exam and cleared it. This is the TOGAF 10. Now, I started with my TOGAF journey with TOGAF 8.1.1. That was many, many years ago. I don't even know how many, probably 9 or 10 years ago. And then I upgraded to TOGAF 9, and then I upgraded to TOGAF 9.1, and then I upgraded to TOGAF 9.2. And last week, I gave the TOGAF 10, which is the TOGAF Enterprise Architecture Practitioner exam, and cleared it, and am now a certified TOGAF 10 architect. It was an interesting experience because I've not taken any training on TOGAF 10, and I've taken the book and I've studied the book and the series guides. Interestingly, in TOGAF 10, they have included the series guides along with the core body of knowledge. So there are about 6 or 7 series guides which are important for the examination. Well, there are many series guides out there. Not all of them are very important from an exam standpoint. There are 6 or 7 series guides which are important. I've studied those series guides, primarily focusing on enterprise agility and how to use agile in the enterprise architecture context, and digital enterprises and digital transformation. And there is also an assessment technique called the digital transformation readiness assessment, and etc. etc. And I took my time and studied the books and the series guides and cleared the exam. And I've been studying for the last couple of weeks so much, every morning and every evening, that after the exam and after I cleared it, it was a relief that I had not known for a while now. It reminded me of my college days and my school days when I used to study before the exams. And after the exams, it is so relaxing. Every morning I wake up and I think, what am I going to study today? And then I remember that I'm not really going to be studying anything because I've already cleared the exam, and that's such a relief. All right, a very interesting topic today that I'm going to cover. It is called leadership, stakeholder management, and politics. Now, one of the things that I have, seen where enterprise architecture practice or enterprise architecture capabilities fail in their effort is they are not able to manage people. So primarily, today's episode is going to be about leadership, about managing stakeholders, about politics, and about a couple of other things like branding and such, communication, collaboration, etc. So TOGAF takes a very technical approach when it comes to stakeholder management. It has what you call the power interest matrix, and it is a matrix. It is a matrix on which there is an x-axis and there is a y-axis. On the x-axis, you have power, and on the y-axis, you have interest. Okay, and it tries to manage or tries to map all the stakeholders that the enterprise architecture capability has on this matrix. On the top right corner of the 4 quadrants, we split the matrix into 4 quadrants really, and on the top right corner of the quadrant, we have those stakeholders that are high power, high interest. What that means is these are stakeholders who are extremely powerful, have the capability to disrupt the enterprise architecture practice. They have the capability to disrupt the program, the project, the transformation that we are going through. But they will not do so because they are interested in what the EA capability is trying to do, or they are interested in the transformation that they are going through. So, what the enterprise architects are supposed to do is not work on too many architectural work products, only focus on those architectural work products that these stakeholders are interested in. Now, what are these architectural work products? They're basically models that the architects will build that will convince the stakeholders that their interests are being protected. The systems that they are building and the transformation that they're going through are going to meet the requirements of these high power, high interest stakeholders. Then on the top left corner of this matrix, the top left quadrant of this matrix contains those stakeholders which are high power but do not have an interest in what we are trying to do. These could be the chief financial officer or business stakeholders who are not really that much interested in what the enterprise architecture team is trying to do. They view the activities as resource consuming activities that don't really know what they're doing, or they don't really care about what they're doing. Now, the purpose of enterprise architects is, by the way, to convert these stakeholders and bring them from the top left to the top right. Now, if you remember, it's y-axis contains power. They are powerful stakeholders and they have the capability to disrupt the transformation, but they're not interested in it because they are low on the interest. They're on the left-hand side. When we bring them to the right-hand side, we pique their interest. We make sure that they understand that the transformation is also going to help them, benefit them in their daily activities, in their business objectives, right? By showing them what the transformation is all about and how it's going to help them, these stakeholders slowly move from the left quadrant into the right quadrant. And these are important stakeholders. Then they may not be the key players today, but eventually they will become the key players. And then we've got the right bottom quadrant of this matrix, which contains those stakeholders who are not very powerful. They do not have the power to influence the transformation or disrupt it. But they are very interested in what the enterprise architecture organization is doing, and they would like to contribute. These are passionate people who are interested in the technology or in the business or whatever it is that the EA team is doing. They are, for some reason, interested in it. Now, these stakeholders who are not very powerful but are very interested in the transformation sometimes form good allies. They are friends. They help in converting the top left stakeholders into the top right quadrant. So they have the power sometimes to influence the powerful stakeholders to come to the right hand side. They can form good allies, and it's important that the enterprise architecture team keeps them informed. Now, they don't really need to put in extra effort to build models and to build dashboards, etc., to convince them to do anything because they're not very powerful. But considering that they can at some point in time in the future become allies, it's important that they be informed as to what the enterprise architecture capability is doing or what the transformation is all about. And then finally, we've got the bottom left quadrant of the matrix, which is the people or the stakeholders who are not very powerful. They cannot disrupt or influence the transformation that we are going through. And they're also not very interested in what we're trying to do. Now, enterprise architects don't need to focus any effort in, providing any information to these stakeholders because basically they are insignificant. And also the enterprise architects are a very busy team. They are very busy in trying to build architectural work products. They are constantly working on the transformation, looking for solutions, looking for a good design, looking to ensure that the stakeholder requirements are being met. And that's why we don't put in effort on the stakeholders that are not important, because resources are hard to come by. Time is of the essence, and transformations need to be completed on time. So focus on the top left and the top right stakeholders. Keep the bottom right stakeholders informed, and that's how we manage stakeholders. Now, why this is important is because stakeholders play a very important role in the success or failure of enterprise architecture capabilities. One of the biggest challenges that enterprise architects face, and one of the biggest reasons why enterprise architecture capabilities fail, is appropriate communication with the stakeholders. I've seen enterprise architecture teams trying to collect too much information. I've been guilty of it myself. I've spent the first 9 months of my career as an enterprise architect in trying to collect information that nobody will eventually look at. I was trying to collect information about the organization in general, in case if that information comes handy, and that's a lot of waste of effort. So whatever models that you are building, or whatever dashboards or reports that you are generating, ensure that you have a stakeholder targeted for it. You're building it for someone who will find it useful, who will find it valuable. Now, why am I talking about stakeholder management this much? One obvious reason is that I give a lot of importance to who your stakeholder is and how you are satisfying them, how you are making sure that that they value the work that you're doing. But I've also heard many times people complain about enterprise architects that they have their favorite stakeholders. They know who their stakeholders are, and they always keep their interests in mind when they are building their enterprise architectures. They don't keep in mind the interest of other stakeholders. And usually my response to that is that enterprise architects don't really have favorite stakeholders because they have a personal liking with them. Usually enterprise architects understand who are the important stakeholders who can make an enterprise architecture project successful or not, and then they choose to build models for them. And that's why I have presented the power interest matrix to you. It's okay for an enterprise architect to focus on stakeholders that are important, that hold value, that are decision makers who have the influence to make your project successful, and that's okay. Which brings me to a very interesting topic of politics. Politics is seen as a dirty word. Politics, many people view it as, you split the word into two parts. There is poly and there is tics. And poly means many, and tics means a blood-sucking insect or a parasite. And politics basically means a lot of blood-sucking insects, and that's not what I think is politics. Politics is just a dirty word for good stakeholder management, if you really ask me. Every person goes to work for a different reason. Everybody has a personal agenda. Now, if we think that every person comes to work just so that they can make the organization better, so that they can contribute to the organization, then that would not be the right assumption. We are all human beings. We all have our personal agendas. And if you look around you, you will find someone who comes to work because of the money. Someone wants more money. Someone will come to work because they want to grow the corporate hierarchy. They want to grow the ladder. Somebody comes to work because they love going on vacations, and their job basically funds their vacations. Some people come to work because they're passionate about whatever it is that they are doing. They might be passionate about technology, or they might be passionate about whatever their business is, and so everyone has a personal interest in what it is that they're trying to do at work. And politics is basically understanding your stakeholders, understanding what it is that they are interested in, and aligning those personal interests with organizational interests. When you understand that whatever transformation that you're doing, it'll be more successful if those people see the value. And when they see the value, it basically means that the transformation is also going to help them achieve their objectives, achieve their personal agendas. When you start understanding that, you've become good at politics. And that's not, politics, if you consider that to be a dirty word, then use a better word like stakeholder management, or like people management, or like understanding people, or understanding humanity, and so on and so forth. This is one thing that we don't really focus on too much when we are going through our career, whether it is enterprise architecture or any other leadership function. Another thing that I've noticed people ask me is that they would like to start their career as an enterprise architect. What should they do? And my last episode was about it. It was about how to become an enterprise architect, and what are the things that you should be reading, how much experience do you need, what are the skills that you should focus on, and so on. And that specific episode was about that. Today, I just want to say that don't look at enterprise architecture as a title. Because if you look around, you won't find a lot of enterprise architect titled people in the industry today. But just because somebody's title is not enterprise architecture, that does not mean that they are not enterprise architects. Enterprise architecture is essentially a leadership function. Anybody who's in a leadership capacity in any organization, if they have the knowledge of enterprise architecture and enterprise architecture frameworks and reference architectures and reference models, they'll be able to do a much better job in whatever it is that they are doing, whether it's infrastructure design or infrastructure architecture or application architecture or organizational structure or chief financial officer, chief information officer. All these titles would be able to do their job much better if they understand enterprise architecture, if they understand how organizational structures should be designed, how various business functions should align, what business capability mapping is, what all those skills that you acquire as an enterprise architect. And finally, I would like to end it by saying that be more tolerant. Now, in my last couple of episodes, I've been talking about talking. I've been telling you that, start discussions, talk to people. When you face a problem, don't go about it alone. Talk on social media platforms, talk on discussion groups on LinkedIn, or talk on the Telegram group that we have created for Enterprise Architecture Radio. But it's not just about talking, it's also about listening. And that's a very important skill. And I am actually sorry that I did not mention this earlier. More important than talking is actually listening, being open to other people's ideas. And from what I'm noticing on social media these days and when I'm talking to people around these days, is that we've become a little intolerant with understanding other people's ideas and listening to other people's ideas. And with this entire woke, I'm not against woke or anything. I'm just saying because of this entire woke revolution that's coming along around, accepting other people's genders and trying to understand how you should address somebody these days. And I get the feeling that people are becoming less and less tolerant. Instead of listening to what the other person is trying to say, we focus more on how the other person is saying it. And even what the other person is saying, we should at least have the courtesy to listen to what the other person is saying. You may or may not agree, and that's okay. Voice your concerns about not agreeing with them. But please don't feel insulted if someone says something that you don't agree with. Be an open-minded person. And we know history. If you look at history, every single civilization around the world, whether it's the Indian culture, or if you look at European culture or American culture, or at one point in time the Mediterranean, whenever these cultures were open-minded, whenever they were open to other people's opinions and ideas and thoughts and voices, those civilizations progressed the most. Those civilizations made maximum number of inventions and discoveries and made their life much better. And when they closed down on other people's opinions, any culture or any civilization, when it closes down on other people's opinions and ideas, we have seen that slowly that culture withers away. Now, I know this is not directly related to enterprise architecture, but it is definitely related to leadership. It's definitely related to how you go about your career, how you build your career. So be open-minded, listen to other people's ideas, and don't feel free to voice your opinions. If you don't agree with somebody, say so politely, and I think that opens up everybody's minds. That's all I have for you today, folks. I hope you enjoyed the show. More about organizational agility, innovation, and enterprise architecture in the practical world, in the business, right here on the show. But before I end the show, I want you to help me out with this one little thing. Pause the show and share this podcast via WhatsApp or text message with at least one person who might be interested in the show. It could be anyone, your colleague, your boss, someone in your team. That's all I ask. Just one share. with one message via text or WhatsApp or any social media of your choice, and it would go a long way in supporting this podcast and growing this listener base. Also, please don't forget to follow the podcast. That way, you'll get notified when we publish a new episode. If you want to find out more about us, you can find us at enterprisearchitectureradio.com. If you have ideas, thoughts, disagreements, please feel free to write to me directly. We also have a Telegram group if you would like to contribute to the EA discussions or what have you. Just search for Enterprise Architecture Radio on Telegram. Or the URL to join the group is https://t.me/Enterprise Architecture Radio. While our contact details are there in the show notes, we are very easy to find. Just search for Enterprise Architecture Radio anywhere. Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, even Discord. Once again, I hope you had fun, and I'll see you in the next one.